Boy Scouts, not Girl Scouts.
I was a regional elder up until just recently for our area there in Oklahoma. I had 11 churches that I supported, and I would go around to these various congregations, and they're so small. There's got these big buildings, and they have these little congregations that are old and dying, and there's so much that the emergent movement, as I understand it, can offer these kinds of congregations, to get out, get rid of the buildings and get out there and be church, or even use the buildings in some other way in order to serve the communities. And it's just so hard. I had problems, like you were talking about. When we started Meals on Wheels, we had a group of people that didn't want to do it because what we're going to do, we're going to end up feeding all these motorcycle gangs and stuff in here. I don't know where they get. I mean, I heard them say that.
Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
There we go.
And it was just. I mean, there was this idea that somehow those people might come in. And my wife said, "There you go." It's talking about those people again. But it's sad. And somehow we preachers have missed the boat because we haven't been able to reach our people some way. I don't know. It makes me feel like I've been talking to the wall. There used to be a Western song, "Hello Wall" or something like that. And that's the way I sometimes feel. After all these years, they still don't get it. They still don't get it. And I hope I get it. I don't know.
One of the things that this is not a new church promotion, but with the push about new churches, and then lagging behind it, but behind it is the transformational churches, and this 500 number is the first time I've heard that today. 700 new, 500 is all the people, and North Carolina, particularly Eastern North Carolina, is filled with churches that used to be, farm family, small community family. The kids have gone off somewhere else, and they age and moan. What are you doing for us? And I try to make the case as, look, how about just considering you nesting a new church? You don't have to be part of it. You just give them a place to meet and check in every now and then. Make sure they didn't punch holes in the wall, but do it. And the energy that comes with the new church, affects the rest of the church. They feel better about themselves because they are doing something. And there becomes at times a transfusion of people. We have a church in Raleigh that has now done 3 nestings of churches. St. Paul's Christian Church, 50 years old, and gotten to know the people pretty well and the minister very well. And they're proud of what they're doing, but beyond that, they have gotten engaged in what they're doing, such that they had a Vietnamese church at one point, and then a bunch of Hmong Vietnamese came, and they did not want to be sort of church by themselves. We want to be part of your church, So now it's all meshed together. The same thing is happening in Charlotte, at First Christian Church in Charlotte. They are. Oh, there she is. She could tell us better than anybody if she would just to prove I'm not lying. Hey, Nancy Carroll. Tell us about the Hmong Montagnards.
Tell you. Excuse me?
And the soup kitchen.
Well, we have, we believe that God is using our church as an answer to prayer. We started a prayer group after one of our members returned from the assembly 4 years ago, praying for ways that God would use our church. And about a year later, within a month of each other, we had the vision of starting a soup kitchen presented to us by a Jewish man in the community. And that has grown to serve from serving 5 on the day we initiated, which was Christmas Eve of 2008, to serving between 150 and 200 at a time now. And then also within that same time period, we had a group of Montagnards, mountain people from Vietnam, Central Highlands of Vietnam, who were the people that worked with our troops during the Vietnamese War, came to our church. We had one person came and heard the chimes and recognized music and told somebody in the parking lot that he was a Christian and was he allowed to worship there, and she invited him in good Southern hospitality style. And following that, they had his family and the leader of the group came, and we now have over 60 Montagnards who are fully a part of our congregation. I am very excited about being part of the congregation because it's a very welcoming congregation. I feel like we're in the midst of transformation, although we did not, sit down and make that decision to do that. I mean, it's definitely transforming our church. Our church has more than doubled, and the church gets used a lot more by the community and so forth. And it really is a missional work, because the Montagnard group that came to us are very much concerned about what's going on still in Vietnam and the continuing persecution. And they don't let us forget that. They tell us every week. And so it's usually one of our prayer concerns is to pray for people, their family members or their neighbors who've been imprisoned or attacked or whatever because of their religious belief. We have people in our church who were hidden before they could escape as refugees because they were hunted by the government because they would not deny worshiping God. They were asked to worship Ho Chi Minh, and then they could attend church if they wanted to, because I guess there's some kind of a government church, but they can only do that freely if they would agree to first worship Ho Chi Minh, and they refused. So they're continually persecuted. Their lands are taken away. It's unbelievable stories. I mean, I've learned a lot that I didn't know, and our whole congregation has. It really is, it's amazing. And it's just amazing to me what God will do if we just open ourselves and pray and have open spirits and openness to being moved in some different way. I mean, we didn't set out to do that. About 20 years ago, our church thought it was going to be maybe closing its doors because we were getting pretty small. And we still have financial problems like everybody else. And we've had some people in the congregation will make comments like, when we talk about missions, well, we ought to ask them, like the churches somewhere out there, we ought to ask them to send us money because of what we're doing with the Montagnards. Well, it's like, well, this is what the church is about, is helping people. It's not about somebody else helping us to help them. It's about us being able to do it. So it's a really exciting ministry. It's challenging. And I have the privilege of being the coordinator of the Montagnard ministry, so it's really exciting. Thank you for asking, Bob.
A number of the churches in the Raleigh, Cary, Durham, triangle area we call it, got together around Easter time and decided that they wanted to make a statement. And the statement is contained in one paragraph called on the internet called progressivechurches.org. I mean, it's easy to remember. Progressive Churches, plural. Progressivechurches.org. And it lists some 20 churches that participate. We don't do anything. But we send people to it, and we have been getting members at Covenant Christian Church directly from people who have read that to say that, hey, anybody would say that and mean it. We want to check you out. Now, it's a missional statement. It's not a come be a member of us, but here's what we want to go do, and it's changed the tenor of the church in a very real way. Our minister Joanne Verberg says in the 25 years we're celebrating this year, she's had 5 totally different congregations. I mean, as people age out and as the kids go here and there, and And now without, well, the whole gay, lesbian people are reading that progressive church. We're not open and affirming in an advertisable statement, but we are, and it's amazing. Probably half a dozen, I'll call them couples, for want of a better term. They do. Well, yeah, but some of them are married now. You know, some of them are something else. Some of them went off to Massachusetts to get married and came back and thanked the church publicly for just being willing to let them be part. One of them was the chaplain at University of North Carolina Hospital. I mean, outstanding people, and we're being taught by example, where the loving spirit is, without signs or marching or anything like that. It's people to people, period. And it's just been amazing, and it's freeing. I mean, if you can take racial issues, if you can take women, if you can take, one by one the issues, fall. I can take the holes in the wall, or the risk thereof. I believe you. Just hang a sign out the door, say, "Hey, we're open for anything," and let God decide what shows up at your door.
I had a friend in New Mexico, down southern New Mexico, no, it was close to Colorado anyway, and he had a sign in his church. He became known as the church that would accept anybody. The church that would accept anybody.
Here's a guy that's buddied up down in Goldsboro with probably the most controversial person in the state of North Carolina right now, a disciple pastor. And he African American, and their churches, Goldsboro and Greenleaf, have yoked together for how many years? I don't know. Before I got there, a dozen.
We've done things together off and on. Yeah.
Anyway, the minister of that church, who is one of the really brilliant people, is president of the NAACP in North Carolina. And he will challenge anything. He scares me sometimes, but there's also times that I follow right behind him into it. I guess all I'm saying is when you open up, you never know what's going to happen. But if you open up for the right reasons, it don't matter what happens. It'll be good. You'll feel good about it.